There is a kind of freedom so rare, it feels like a sin to keep it for yourself. It is the freedom of standing alone, not lonely, but whole. There comes a time in life when you must stand still and ask yourself, am I living for others' expectations, or am I living for the truth in my own bones? We are taught to chase companionship as though solitude is a disease. We are told that happiness is found in the clasp of another's hand. But what if I told you happiness has been waiting for you in your own two hands all along? Tonight I will give you 7 reasons why staying single might be the greatest gift you can give yourself. Not because love is wrong, but because love of self is the foundation that all other loves must rest upon. And by the time we reach the end, you will not only understand the power of standing alone, you will crave it. There is a kind of wealth more precious than gold, more rare than diamonds, and more fleeting than breath. And that wealth is time. You cannot buy it. You cannot store it. You cannot beg the clock to give you more than it has already written for you. And yet, most people spend it as though it were endless, handing it away to anyone who asks for it, letting the days slip between their fingers while they serve everyone else's agenda. But when you are single, you stand at the gates of your own hours, holding the keys, deciding who, if anyone, gets entry. When you wake in the morning, you rise to your own rhythm. There is no negotiation over what the day will hold, no tug of war between your needs and someone else's demands. The morning light spills across your face, and it is yours to greet without rushing to meet someone else's schedule. You can linger in bed and let your mind wander. You can leap into your goals before the sun even stretches itself across the sky. Because your time is not on loan to another. It belongs wholly to you. In the quiet of singlehood, you learn the sweet luxury of setting your own pace. If you want to dedicate an entire afternoon to reading, you can. If you feel the sudden spark to chase a dream, to enroll in a class, to start building a business, you don't have to negotiate your decision with anyone. You do not have to shrink your ambitions to fit someone else's comfort. You can work through the night if your creativity demands it. You can take a nap at midday if your body asks for rest. No explanations, no guilt, just the art of listening to your own needs and honoring them without interference. And here is the truth. Most people do not realize how much of their life they give away until they no longer have control over it. They sign up for relationships that become full-time jobs. They hand over their calendars in the name of love and end up living inside someone else's priorities. But when you are single, you understand that time is the currency of your soul. Every minute you spend is an investment in your own becoming. Think of the things you have wanted to do for years. The projects you placed on the shelf because there just wasn't enough time. The trips you didn't take because someone else needed you. The moments you silenced your own voice so you could meet the endless list of obligations to others. Singlehood hands those moments back to you. It says, here, your life is in your hands again. What will you do with it? You can spend a whole Saturday lost in a hobby, guilt-free. You can walk through a park with no destination, letting the air and the sunlight be your only company. You can stay up until dawn, painting, writing, building, dreaming, not because you must, but because you choose to. And in that choosing, you reclaim a piece of yourself that so many people lose, the right to live without constant compromise. When your time is your own, your decisions begin to change. You are no longer operating from the exhaustion of giving your energy away. You begin to protect your peace fiercely because you understand its value. You stop saying yes to things you do not want, simply to keep the harmony of a relationship. You realize that a day spent doing something that does not nourish you is a day you will never get back, and that realization makes you careful, deliberate, intentional. And let us be clear, this is not selfishness. This is stewardship. It is recognizing that your time is the most sacred resource you will ever be given and treating it as such. The world will pull at you from every angle. People will have plans for you, agendas for you, expectations for you. But when you are single, you have the rare opportunity to build a life that answers only to the voice inside you. You can choose the people who are worthy of your hours, the projects that are worthy of your energy, and the moments that are worthy of your attention. There is an indescribable peace in waking up and knowing that your day is yours to shape, that no one can interrupt your flow without your permission, that you can say no without fear of starting a war, that you can say yes to your own dreams without first asking for approval. In this freedom, you begin to create a rhythm that matches the beat of your own soul. You eat when you are hungry, not when someone else is ready. You work when inspiration strikes, not when it is convenient for the crowd. You rest when your body calls for it, not when the world finally gives you permission. Your life begins to align with the natural flow of who you are, and in that alignment, you become more alive. You may not realize it now, but this ownership of your time shapes everything else. It shapes your health because you can prioritize it without excuse. It shapes your success because you can pour yourself into your passions without being pulled in opposing directions. It shapes your joy because your days are built around the things and the people that bring you genuine happiness. You are not living on scraps of leftover hours after you have given your best to someone else. You are giving your best to yourself first. There is a power in this that cannot be overstated, because when you fully own your time, you also own your direction. You stop waiting for someone to join you before you start the journey. You stop postponing your life until the right partner appears. You start walking your own path, and if someone comes along, they will have to match your stride, not slow you down, not pull you off course. This is the gift of being single. You get to fall in love with your own life, uninterrupted. You get to build days that reflect who you are and who you are becoming. And in that freedom, you discover that your time is not something to be given away lightly. It is the truest reflection of your worth. There is a quiet kind of prison most people never realize they are in. A prison built not of bars and locks, but of expectations. It is the silent approval we seek before we change. It is the fear in the pit of the stomach that whispers, if I grow, will they still want me? When you are single, that prison door is wide open. No guard, no lock, no voice asking you to stay the same. You are free to evolve in ways that feel dangerous to those who do not understand transformation. You can shed layers of yourself without apology. You can break open the shell of who you used to be without worrying about who might be startled by your wings. Most people in relationships do not even notice how often they ask for permission, not with words, but with hesitation. They hesitate before cutting their hair, before taking a new job, before moving to a new city. They hesitate before shifting their beliefs, before exploring new hobbies, before changing their lifestyle. It is not because they are incapable. It is because somewhere deep inside, they have tied their identity to being acceptable in someone else's eyes. But singlehood hands you the rarest of luxuries, the ability to reinvent yourself on your own terms. You can wake up one morning and decide you want to learn a new language, and there is no one to tell you it's impractical. You can decide to travel across oceans, live in another country, or completely change your career path. And there is no one to hold you back because it inconveniences them. You are the author, the editor, the publisher of your own story, and there is no one leaning over your shoulder, red pen in hand, ready to cross out the sentences that make them uncomfortable. Growth is a wild, messy, unpredictable thing. It does not ask for the right timing. It does not wait until everyone else is ready. It moves when it moves, and the truth is, When you are tethered to someone else's comfort zone, your own growth will always have a leash on it. But when you are alone, you are untethered. You can chase that sudden desire to study art in Italy. You can move to the mountains. You can shave your head. You can start that business you've been dreaming of without having to justify why you are risking the security someone else depends on. And in that freedom, you discover parts of yourself you might have never met. You find out what truly excites you when you are not considering anyone else's approval. You find the strength to try, fail, and try again, without the heavy shadow of someone saying, "I told you so." You can fall flat on your face, pick yourself up, and run again. Not because anyone gave you permission, but because you didn't need it. There is something profoundly liberating about changing without warning, about saying, "This is who I was yesterday, but this is who I am today," and not having to explain the space in between. You can let your curiosity lead you instead of letting obligation chain you. You can experiment with new ways of living, working, thinking, without fearing that someone will leave because they cannot keep up with your pace of growth. And here is the truth that no one likes to say aloud. Many relationships are not destroyed by a lack of love. They are destroyed by the refusal to let the other person change. People fall in love with who you are when they meet you, and sometimes they want you to stay that way forever, even if it means stunting your own evolution. But when you are single, you owe no one the version of you they first met. You can be fluid. You can be unrecognizable to the person you were a year ago, and it is not a betrayal, it is a birth. Singlehood allows you to live at the speed of your own becoming. It gives you the space to pivot without permission. You can wake up and decide you want to live with less, own less, consume less, and you can do it without having to convince someone else that it is the right choice. You can wake up and decide to surround yourself with new people, mentors, and experiences, and you do not have to worry about whether it makes someone else insecure. And that kind of freedom feeds you. It nourishes the deepest, most adventurous parts of your spirit, because you realize growth is not just about progress, it is about truth. It is about seeing clearly what no longer fits and having the courage to let it go. It is about recognizing when the walls around you are too close and tearing them down without waiting for someone else to agree they need to be removed. When you are single, you are not held hostage by the fear of outgrowing someone. You are not tiptoeing around change in case it threatens a relationship. You can grow at full speed, knowing that the only person who has to be comfortable with your transformation is you. And the irony is, the more you grow without permission, the more you begin to attract people who admire your courage instead of people who feel threatened by it. You stop bending yourself into shapes to fit into places you've outgrown. You stop editing your dreams to match the smallness of someone else's vision. You learn that your life is not an audition for someone else's approval. It is a full, unapologetic performance of your own becoming. And here is the most beautiful part. In the process of growing without permission, you start to trust yourself in a way you never did before. You begin to realize you do not need someone else to validate your choices for them to be right for you. You begin to understand that your instincts are wiser than you gave them credit for. You stop asking, "Will they be okay with this?" and start asking, "Am I okay with this?" And that shift from external permission to internal approval changes everything. It changes the way you move through the world. It changes the way you take risks. It changes the way you see yourself. Because now you know that you are not waiting for the world to catch up to you. You are moving forward at your own pace on your own path, and anyone who wants to walk with you will have to keep up. There is a language in this world more ancient than words. It is spoken not with the mouth, but with the pauses between breaths. It is carried not on the wind, but in the stillness of the air. It is silence. And when you are single, you have the rare privilege to listen to it in its purest form. Silence is not empty. That is what the noisy world will tell you. It will say silence is loneliness, that it is the absence of life, that it is something to be filled quickly before it swallows you whole. But the truth is, silence is full, overflowing even. It is the space where you can finally hear yourself think. It is the room where the voice of your soul rises above the roar of the crowd. When you share your life with others, the world is rarely quiet. There are conversations to maintain, updates to give, moods to read, problems to solve. Even the peaceful moments are layered with the hum of another presence, their needs, their habits, their rhythms. But in solitude, silence wraps around you like a thick, comforting blanket. You do not have to fill it. You do not have to break it. You can simply exist in it without apology. In that stillness, you begin to notice things that rush past in the noise of constant interaction. The way sunlight moves slowly across the wall, the sound of your own breathing, the rhythm of your heartbeat steady and patient, as if it knows exactly who you are meant to be and is waiting for you to catch up. Silence is where you meet yourself without distraction. It strips away the performance we put on for others. In the absence of an audience, you are free to stop pretending, to stop curating, to stop arranging yourself for approval. In silence, you are not the version of yourself that the world demands. You are simply you, unedited, unmasked, unmeasured. This is where the deepest truths come to meet you. Dreams you have buried under years of busyness rise up like ghosts, demanding to be seen. Desires you thought you had outgrown tap on your shoulder and remind you they are still alive. The voice of your intuition, quieted by the noise of other people's opinions, grows stronger until it is impossible to ignore. When you are single, you have the space to let silence be a teacher. And it will teach you patience because silence does not rush. It will teach you clarity because in the absence of noise, the right answers float to the surface. It will teach you to listen, not just to others, but to yourself. There is a richness in silence that cannot be bought or borrowed. It allows you to process your life instead of just living it on autopilot. It gives you the chance to feel your feelings fully without interruption. When you are hurt, you can sit in that hurt and understand it instead of rushing past it because someone else needs you to be okay. When you are joyful, you can savor that joy without explaining why you feel it. Silence also sharpens your awareness of the world around you. Without the constant distraction of conversation, you start to hear the small, exquisite details of life, the faint rustle of leaves, the distant laughter of strangers, the way rain sounds different on a window than on a rooftop. You begin to realize that life has a soundtrack far more beautiful than anything you could have planned. And perhaps the most profound thing silence offers is peace with your own company. Many fear silence because they fear themselves. They are afraid of the thoughts that will come when the world is quiet. They are afraid of what they might feel when there is no one to distract them. But when you are single and you allow yourself to sit in silence, you discover that you are not as frightening as you thought. You learn that your mind, when given room to breathe, is capable of deep beauty. You learn that your own presence can be soothing, even healing. The richness of silence is also a source of strength. In stillness, you gather your energy instead of scattering it. You learn to be deliberate with your words because you are no longer speaking just to fill the air. You learn to be selective with your company because you have experienced the satisfaction of your own. You begin to understand that silence is not a void to be feared, but a sanctuary to be cherished. And here's what the world doesn't tell you. When you embrace silence, you also change the way you connect with others. You no longer fear pauses in conversation. You no longer rush to fill space with noise. You listen more deeply, speak more truthfully, and value the moments of stillness you share with those who understand its beauty. Silence becomes a filter. It draws in people who can sit beside you without needing to perform, without needing to fix, without needing to fill. In the richness of silence, you also learn to trust timing. You realize that not every answer must come immediately. Not every decision must be made in haste. You begin to understand that space, true, quiet space, is where the best ideas are born and the wisest moves are made. And maybe this is the greatest gift silence gives. It makes you unafraid of emptiness. It shows you that an unfilled moment is not wasted. It shows you that you do not need constant validation, attention, or distraction to feel alive. It shows you that you are already whole, even in the quietest room. When you are single and you welcome silence, you find that it is not the absence of life, but the pulse beneath it. It is not the death of connection, but the birthplace of understanding. It is not the enemy of love, but the foundation on which the deepest kind of love and the kind you have with yourself is built. There is a different kind of power in this world, one that doesn't shout or wave its arms, one that doesn't beg to be noticed. It is the quiet power of knowing you can take care of yourself. It is the deep, steady confidence of standing on your own feet without leaning on anyone else to carry your weight. It is independence, both financial and emotional. And when you are single, you have the chance to claim it in its purest form. Financial independence is more than just earning money. It is freedom in the truest sense. It is being able to make choices for your life without having to ask, can we afford it? Or will they be okay with me spending this? It is the ability to invest in yourself, your dreams, your health, and your future without waiting for someone else's approval. When you are single, your money is your own to direct. You can save it with discipline or spend it with joy. You can take risks with it, knowing that the outcome and whether loss or gain is yours alone to bear. There is no shared account that binds you to another person's spending habits or financial fears. There is no invisible permission slip you must fill out before you buy the ticket, take the course, or make the move. And in that ownership, you learn discipline. You learn to be resourceful, to live within your means, to build something from nothing if you have to. You learn that you are capable of creating security for yourself, that you are not waiting for someone else to build a nest around you. You build your own, brick by brick, dollar by dollar. But there is another kind of wealth that independence gives you, the wealth of emotional sovereignty. Emotional independence means you are not living at the mercy of someone else's moods. You are not climbing up and down the ladder of their approval. You are not silencing your own needs because you fear losing their affection. When you are emotionally independent, you do not need someone to validate your worth. You do not wait for praise to feel proud of yourself. You do not crumble when others disapprove. You have built a foundation within that can withstand disapproval, rejection, and misunderstanding without falling apart. And the beauty is, financial and emotional independence feed each other. When you know you can support yourself financially, you are less likely to tolerate relationships that drain you emotionally. You no longer stay because you are afraid of being left with nothing. You no longer cling to someone out of fear of survival. You can walk away, not because it is easy, but because you know you can stand on your own. This kind of independence changes the way you make decisions. You stop bargaining your peace for someone else's comfort. You stop calculating your worth by how much someone else loves you. You stop handing the keys to your happiness to people who don't know how to hold them. It also changes the way you dream. You begin to think in terms of what do I want, instead of what will they allow. You start setting goals without the invisible limits of someone else's fears. You stop shrinking your plans to fit into the smallness of another's vision. Financial independence gives you the freedom to move when you need to. If a place no longer feels like home, you can leave. If a job is crushing your spirit, you can resign. If you want to take a year to study, travel, or create, you can plan for it without worrying about how it will impact a partner's security. Emotional independence gives you the freedom to choose relationships from a place of abundance rather than need. You no longer enter connections looking for someone to fix you, rescue you, or complete you. You are already whole. And from that wholeness, you can offer love freely, not as a transaction, but as a gift. The truth is, dependency, both financial and emotional, often blurs the lines between love and survival. People mistake necessity for connection. They stay in situations not because they are deeply fulfilled, but because they are afraid they cannot manage on their own. And fear is a terrible reason to keep company, but when you stand in your own independence, fear loses its grip. You know you can make it through without leaning on someone else's paycheck, without clinging to someone else's reassurance. You are free to be in someone's life because you want to be there, not because you need to be there. And that distinction, that subtle but powerful difference, transforms everything. It changes the way you carry yourself. You walk into rooms differently when you know your survival does not depend on anyone in them. You speak more boldly when you know no one holds the strings to your stability. You make choices from a place of strength, not desperation. Independence also teaches you self-respect. You begin to see your time, energy, and love as valuable resources, not to be handed out to anyone who asks, but to be given with intention. You understand that you are not here to be anyone's safety net at the cost of your own freedom. You are not here to dim your light so someone else feels secure. And perhaps the greatest gift of independence is the deep, steady peace it brings. It is the peace of knowing that no matter what storms come, you have built a life that can withstand them. You have built skills, habits, and a mindset that keep you standing even if everyone else walks away. You are anchored not to someone else's stability, but to your own. This peace does not mean you will never need anyone. We all need connection, love, and support. But it does mean that your need will never outweigh your choice. You will never have to stay somewhere your soul doesn't belong just because leaving feels impossible. You will never have to silence yourself just to keep a roof over your head or a hand to hold. When you are both financially and emotionally independent, you can move through life on your own terms. You can love without fear, leave without destruction, and build without permission. You are no longer a passenger in your own story. You are the driver, and you know exactly where your hands belong, on the wheel of your own life. There is a certain tragedy in the way most people approach love, not as a choice, but as a rescue mission. They look for someone to fill the aching spaces inside them, to silence the fears they carry, to hold them together so they don't fall apart. They do not choose love, they cling to it. They grasp at it like a lifeline, not because it is the right connection, but because they are afraid of drowning alone. When you are single and whole, you stand in a different position entirely. You are not scanning the horizon for someone to complete you. You are not searching for someone to save you from yourself. You are already standing on steady ground. You are already fed, filled, and rooted in your own worth. And from that place, love becomes something entirely different. It becomes a deliberate, conscious choice, not a desperate necessity. There is a power in knowing that you do not need someone to feel valuable, that your life is not an empty container waiting for another person to pour themselves into it. You are already overflowing, And because of that, you can be discerning. You can look at a potential partner and ask, do they add to the life I have built? Do they inspire me, challenge me, nurture me, rather than, will they keep me from feeling alone? Desperation blinds. It makes you accept what you should walk away from. It makes you excuse behaviors that chip away at your peace. It makes you cling to relationships that drain you because you are too afraid of the silence that follows letting go. But when you stand whole on your own, you can see clearly. You can spot the red flags without trying to paint them white. You can walk away at the first sign of harm, not because you are cold, but because you respect yourself enough to protect your well-being. Choosing love without desperation means you can wait. You can let the wrong people pass you by without fear that no one else will come. You can live a rich, full life without rushing to tie yourself to someone who is not aligned with your spirit. You can hold out for the kind of connection that doesn't just keep you company, but brings you joy. It also means you can give freely without the strings of expectation. When you are desperate for love, everything you give comes with a silent hope of return. If I give enough, they will stay. If I love them harder, they will choose me. But when you are whole, you love because it is who you are, not because you are bargaining for security. You can offer kindness, affection, and commitment without making it a transaction. And here is the beauty of this kind of love. It is not born out of fear, and because of that, it is not easily destroyed. You are not constantly testing it, measuring it, or clinging to it for dear life. You are free to let it breathe, to let it grow, to let it be what it is without forcing it to be your only source of happiness. When you choose love without desperation, you also open yourself to a different caliber of relationship. You attract people who are whole in themselves, people who are not looking for someone to carry their entire emotional weight. And when two whole people come together, the connection is not built on survival. It is built on choice, respect, and mutual growth. You are not leaning on each other to stay upright. You are walking side by side, each with your own strength. This kind of love does not fear independence. You can spend time apart without spiraling into insecurity. You can encourage each other's dreams without feeling threatened. You can celebrate each other's growth without worrying that it will pull you apart. Because you both know that love is not about ownership, it is about freedom. The freedom to choose each other again and again with clear eyes and open hands. There is a quiet dignity in waiting for this kind of love. In refusing to settle for someone who simply occupies the empty chair at your table. In knowing that you would rather eat alone than share your meal with someone who does not feed your soul. It is not loneliness, it is discernment. It is not coldness, it is self-respect. And there is also a joy in realizing that you can create a beautiful, meaningful life without a romantic partner. That love is not confined to romance alone. It flows through friendships, family, passions, community, and your relationship with yourself. When you know this, you stop chasing love as though it is the only thing that can make your life worth living. You start seeing it as one of many beautiful things that can enter your life, not the only thing. Desperation makes you small. It makes you twist yourself into shapes to keep someone's attention. It makes you lower your standards until you no longer recognize your own reflection. But choosing love without desperation keeps you expansive. It keeps you rooted in your truth, even when temptation whispers, "Take what you can get." You know better than that. You know you are not built for scraps. And perhaps the most powerful part of all is this. When you choose love without desperation, you are never trapped. You know that you can walk away and still be whole. You know that your happiness is not locked in someone else's keeping. You know that you are capable of building a life you love with or without them. That knowledge changes the way you love. It makes you fearless in your honesty because you are not afraid of losing something you do not depend on to survive. It makes you generous in your affection because you are not giving from a place of lack. It makes you patient because you are not rushing towards something just to fill the space. When you stand in your own wholeness, love becomes what it was always meant to be, not a lifeline, but a meeting of two rivers, not two halves making a whole, but two wholes making something even greater. And when you find it, you will know that you chose it not because you were afraid to be alone, but because it was worthy of you. There is a moment somewhere between solitude and loneliness when you finally understand the difference, and it changes everything. Loneliness is the ache for another's presence. Solitude is the celebration of your own. And when you are single, you have the rare and priceless opportunity to master the art of being your own companion. Self-companionship is not simply being okay alone. It is learning to love your own company so deeply that your presence feels like a place you want to come home to. It is knowing how to entertain yourself, how to comfort yourself, how to challenge yourself, and how to delight yourself without needing someone else to do it for you. For many, the thought of being alone is terrifying. They fear the empty room, the unfilled chair, the silence at the dinner table, but this fear comes not from solitude itself, but from the unfamiliarity of it. We spend so much time avoiding ourselves, running into relationships, distractions, noise, that when the moment finally comes to sit with who we are, we panic. We do not know this person. We have never listened to their unfiltered thoughts. We have never asked what they really want beyond what the world has told them to want. When you master self-companionship, that changes. You stop running from yourself. You start seeking yourself. You begin to realize that your own presence can be warm, interesting, and even fun. You can spend an afternoon lost in a book, a walk, a project, a dream, not because someone else is there to make it enjoyable, but because you have learned how to make it enjoyable for yourself. It is a practice. At first, you may find the hours stretching, slow, and uncomfortable. You may feel the pull to reach for your phone, to call someone, to fill the quiet with outside voices. But over time, you start to feel the comfort of your own rhythms. You start to discover the things that make you laugh when no one else is around. You learn how to cook a meal exactly the way you like it, how to create a space that reflects who you are, how to spend an evening in your own company without feeling the need to escape it. Self-companionship is not about isolation. It is not about shutting out the world or rejecting connection. It is about building a foundation so solid that you do not crumble when you are alone. It is about becoming your own best friend, the one who knows your quirks, your passions, your boundaries, and your dreams. And the beauty is, the more you enjoy your own company, the less likely you are to settle for relationships that are unworthy of you. When you know that you can be content alone, you stop tolerating situations that drain you just to avoid solitude. You stop accepting half-hearted love because you would rather have no company than bad company. Self-companionship also gives you a unique kind of freedom. You can go anywhere, do anything, without waiting for someone to come with you. You can take yourself to dinner, to the movies, to another country. You can wake up on a Saturday and decide exactly how to spend it without negotiation. You become the kind of person who can walk into a space alone and feel at home, not because you are with anyone else, but because you are with yourself. There is also a spiritual richness to it. When you are alone with yourself, you begin to hear the deeper parts of your being. You notice your patterns, your triggers, your wounds. You learn how to soothe them without outsourcing that responsibility to others. You learn to celebrate yourself without needing applause. You learn to challenge yourself without needing permission. Some will misunderstand this. They will call it selfish. They will say you are too comfortable alone, too unwilling to depend on others. But they will not understand that self-companionship is the opposite of selfishness. It is generosity. Because when you can take care of your own emotional needs, You do not place the burden of your happiness entirely on someone else's shoulders. You can enter relationships as a giver, not just a taker. You can love from overflow, not from emptiness. Self-companionship teaches you that your worth is not measured by your relationship status. It teaches you that you are already enough, even without constant affirmation from someone else. It teaches you that you are capable of building a life that excites you, fulfills you, and comforts you, all on your own. This mastery is not built in a day. It comes from small choices, choosing to stay in with yourself instead of going out just to avoid being alone, choosing to do something you love without waiting for someone to join you, choosing to speak kindly to yourself when no one else is there to speak for you. And perhaps the greatest gift of self-companionship is this: it makes love, when it does come, sweeter, because you are not using it to patch a hole in your soul. You are not asking it to be your only source of joy. You are adding it to a life that is already rich, already beautiful, already full. And when love is chosen from that place, it is freer, truer, and more lasting. When you can sit in a room alone and feel complete, you have mastered something many people will chase for a lifetime and never catch. You have learned that you are not a half, waiting to be made whole. You are a whole, waiting for nothing but your own company to feel complete. There will be seasons in life when the winds will howl against your windows, when the ground beneath you will quake, when the people you thought would never leave will vanish without warning. These storms come for everyone. But the difference between being swept away and standing firm is not found in the weather. It is found in the roots you have grown within yourself. The courage to stand unshaken is not something you are born with. It is something you forge in the quiet hours when no one is watching. It is the strength built when you decide to remain true to yourself, even when it costs you approval. It is the steadiness you gain when you learn to depend on your own conviction more than the comfort of a crowd. When you stay single, you give yourself the space to strengthen this courage without distraction. You do not lean on a relationship to keep you steady. You learn to keep yourself steady. You are not constantly adjusting your stance to match someone else's pace. You learn your own balance. You are not afraid of standing alone because you have discovered that alone does not mean abandoned. Alone can mean anchored. Standing unshaken does not mean you feel no fear. It means you do not let fear decide your steps. It means that even when uncertainty knocks, you answer the door with clarity and calm. It means that when someone tries to make you doubt yourself, you remember who you are and whose voice matters most, your own. People often crumble not because the world is too strong, but because they have made their foundation out of other people's opinions. When you base your worth on how others see you, you hand them the power to destroy you with a frown, a word, a rejection. But when you stand in the truth of your own value, when you know your worth in your bones, the storms can roar, and still you will remain upright. The courage to stand unshaken is a choice you make daily. It is the choice to show up for yourself when no one else shows up. It is the choice to keep walking when the path grows dark and your feet grow tired. It is the choice to say, "This is who I am," without lowering your voice or apologizing for existing. There is a kind of peace that comes when you know you will be okay no matter what happens. Not because life will always be easy, but because you have learned how to keep your center when the edges of your world fall away. That peace comes from testing yourself, from facing nights that felt endless and mornings that felt too heavy to rise from, and rising anyway. When you are single, you have more chances to face those moments without a safety net. And though it may be hard, it shapes you into someone who cannot be easily broken. You do not learn to endure by being protected from every storm. You learn to endure by facing the wind head on and realizing you can survive it. And when you can stand unshaken, you become unmovable in your boundaries. You no longer let desperation dictate your choices. You no longer trade your peace for the comfort of temporary company. You no longer bend yourself into shapes that please others but break you. You stand as you are, and those who cannot accept it are simply not meant to walk beside you. Standing unshaken also means refusing to be rushed. The world will tell you that you are running out of time to marry, to settle, to check the boxes they have created for you. But you, grounded in your own rhythm, can let those voices pass by like leaves on the wind. You understand that your life is not a race, it is a journey, and journeys are not meant to be hurried, they are meant to be lived. This courage also makes you a safe place for yourself. You no longer look outside for permission to be confident, to dream, to try. You give that permission to yourself. You no longer crumble at the first sign of disapproval. You trust your own instincts, your own heartbeat, your own path. People will sense this in you. They will see that you are not easily swayed. Some will admire it. Others will try to test it, but you will not need to prove anything to anyone. Your stability will not be for show. It will be for you. The truth is, many people never learn how to stand unshaken because they have never allowed themselves to stand alone. They have always had someone to lean on, someone to make decisions with, someone to absorb the impact of life's blows. But when you are single, you have the space to meet life directly. You learn what you can endure, and you learn that your endurance is greater than you imagined. And when love comes, if it comes, you will not cling to it out of fear. You will not demand it hold you up when you can stand on your own. Instead, you will share your stability, your courage, your strength, and in doing so, you will create a love that is freer, healthier, and more lasting. Standing unshaken is not about refusing help. It is about knowing that you can remain standing whether help comes or not. It is about knowing that your sense of self will not collapse if someone walks away. It is about knowing that no matter how the winds blow, you will still be there, rooted, steady, and whole. And when you know that, there is nothing left to fear. To stay single is not to be without love. It is to be in love with life, in love with self, in love with the possibility of tomorrow. It is to walk into the world with open eyes and an untamed spirit, knowing that you are not half of a whole, but already complete. And when, if someone worthy joins you, it will not be to carry you, but to walk beside you as two complete souls, choosing each other again and again.